All right. Before we get to the personnel agenda, I do have an announcement and something that I'm going to ask to be added to the agenda. Honestly, it's with a heavy heart that I read this letter to you and announce that our colleague, Jesse Kalkstein, has resigned his office of school director effective July 17th. Jesse could not be here this evening because he is on vacation. We very much tried to coordinate a time to do this when he could be here. And since he cannot, we have invited him back in August. But I did tell him that I would read this letter this evening. It said, Dear members of the board, I have been proud to serve on the Gateway School Board of Directors for the past year and a half, so it is with great gratitude and some sorrow that I must resign from this position effective immediately. In doing so, I will be able to spend more time with my family and focus on my career. Being a Gateway School Board Director has been a tremendous experience. While we faced many challenges, we always found a way to collaborate and make decisions that further positioned Gateway as a premier school district in the East. It has truly been an honor and a privilege to serve the residents of Monroeville and Pitcairn and the students of Gateway. I wish all the best to the board on their future endeavors, and I look forward to hearing of the continued success at Gateway. Sincerely, Jesse Kalkstein. So with that, I would like to ask for a motion to add the acceptance of this resignation to the agenda this evening.
So moved. Second.
So moved by Rick McIntyre, second by Scotty Williams. I don't know that there's any discussion on adding this to the agenda, but
This is,
we need
super majority to add it to the agenda because it wasn't,
6 votes to add to the agenda.
Okay.
Roll call when you're ready, Bonnie.
Okay. Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Bova.
Aye.
Okay.
Motion to accept the resignation of Dr. Jesse Kalkstein.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion to accept the resignation by Rick, seconded by Mr. Williams.
Roll call.
When you're ready.
Okay. Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning. Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Bova.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye. With that, I would like to discuss the replacement process, so I also would ask for a motion to add the replacement of school director's vacant seat to the agenda.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Motion by Mr. Bova, second by Mr. Williams. Everybody okay with adding this to the agenda so we can discuss? When you're ready, Bonnie.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning. Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Bova.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So we've had this happen in the past in the board. However, the circumstance is slightly different. Because Mr. Kalkstein has served less than 2 years, the board can only appoint a replacement through the end of November. At that time, there will be a special election, and it will be up to the Republican and Democratic committees to nominate a candidate for school board for the November election. And at that time, the community will vote, and it will be a 2-year term to finish Mr. Kalkstein's term. So that's in my words, but I also brought written explanation of that because it's a little bit hard for everybody to understand. I want to repeat it a couple times so everybody understands this process. If less than 2 years remain before the former school director's term expires, a person appointed to fill that vacancy serves for the remainder of the term. However, if a vacancy occurs during the first 2 years of the term, the new appointee will serve only until the first Monday in December following the first municipal election that is scheduled for more than 60 days after the vacancy occurred. The first Monday in December in election years is when school directors' terms of office begin and end. In other words, unless the vacancy occurred less than 60 days before the nearest municipal election, the new director would have to run in that pending election in order to serve longer than the first Monday in December. So I hope that clarifies things. So the board has accepted Mr. Kalkstein's resignation. We now have 30 days to appoint someone to fill that position, and that would only be through the end of November. So with that, I would like to ask if there are any motions to add a replacement to the vacant seat of Mr. Kalkstein. Mr. Lepsovich?
Thank you, Mary Beth. Yeah, I have a nomination for, I feel in my heart, a great candidate. She's been on school board for a few years. She did an impeccable job. Almost a lifelong resident from Reville. I'd like to nominate Dawn Neely.
I have a nomination for Dawn Neely for school board.
Second.
Would I have a second for discussion? Second by Mr. Gottman.
Sure, discussion. Will there be any other folks stepping forward that the board could interview over the next 30 days to see if we might find other replacements out there that we haven't yet identified?
I think that that's up for discussion right now. In my opinion,
All right, so
I think it is pertinent for the board to fill this position quickly so that we don't miss a beat. If we put somebody in quickly, we are following the guidelines of the PA school code, and that person can step in right away, and we leave this in the hands of the Republican and Democrat committees. And might I add, too, that if there is a third-party candidate, they can contact the Elections Bureau and find a way to get on the ballot if they are not one of the two major parties. So to me, this is us trying to do due diligence to keep things going here, keep business rolling, and allow the voters to decide who their candidates are going to be in November.
it's important.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I agree. It's important that the board be able to have someone fill the seat and keep moving forward. But on the flip side of that, we want to find the best candidate we can. And so I think it would behoove us to try to do whatever we can to balance the requirements of the board to move forward quickly and the need to be transparent. Now, that's a tough thing to do, and the school code, as interpreted, it can be interpreted two different ways, and by many of the school boards in Pennsylvania and across the nation, they have interpreted according to the need of the moment, the need of the district. So I think the school board is free to pick the protocol that we will follow and then follow that. So my question to us, to the school board, is what protocol will we follow? What will be the rules of selecting someone? So right now we have a nomination that has been seconded. Is that true? It's not
Been
been seconded?
seconded. We're having
So
discussion
we're having
right
a
now.
discussion. So-
Right now is your chance to weigh in on this matter.
So, one of the options we have is to have another meeting in a week or two, and give the folks out there time to listen to this, come down to this, the school board here, make their presentations. We might select the same candidate, we might not, we don't know. Another protocol is for us to vote tonight. Another protocol is for us to go 30 days and not name someone. When that happens, the judge steps in, and within 30 days, they're required, some judge is required to fill the seat.
Right, but by
So
the
there are a
time
lot-
that would happen, John, the election would happen and there'd be a candidate
what I'm saying.
elected.
There are a lot
That's
of
not a viable
options
option. We would sit with a vacant seat if we
Viable
chose
or
that
not, it's
option.
one of the options. So what I'm saying is there are a lot of options we could choose. So which protocol will we choose?
Would someone else like to weigh in on that?
Well, I would, John, and
Sure.
I always appreciate the efforts for as much transparency as possible. The thing that makes this particular appointment unique is that regardless of who we appoint or how we appoint them, this term will ultimately be filled by the Democratic and Republican committees. So it makes sense to me that those folks, since they will be the ultimate decider of who their candidate's going to be, essentially, tell us, who do you want your candidate to be, so that that person, has a few months to get familiar with what we do and is prepared if they win the election in November to continue working. To throw it out open, first of all, gives a lot of quite likely false hope to a lot of people to serve this 2-year term. And I don't see the productive part of that. I don't.
It certainly puts a more of a burden on the school board,
Not really, because no matter who we select, come November, the committees are going to decide who their candidates are. So, little or nothing we do is going to affect that decision. I don't know what their decision-making process is. I know this word of Mr. Kalkstein leaving leaked out a while ago, perhaps from his family, their own discussions. But the committees became aware that Mr. Kalkstein was going to be leaving, and they've already informally kind of offered up who their candidate is going to be. So, and both to expedite the process and also to save a whole bunch of other people, just the trouble of competing for this spot. If we know who those two people are, I say we, decide which of them we want to select and get on with business.
I agree with almost all that you said, except
Best I
the
could hope.
Republican committee didn't have a chance to begin its search until it had received notification that Dr. Kalkstein would be vacating his seat.
Which was when?
That's not true.
This is not time for public comment. Mr. Ritter, can we allow any other board members who might want to comment so that this isn't just a back and forth between you and
Sure.
Mr. Bova?
Can I just make a comment?
Yes, please, Mrs.
Just to
Warning.
say, with Mr. Lapcevich's nomination, I've known Ms. Neely for quite a while. She knows the way the board runs. She's very effective, and when she was on the board, and for the 4 months that, I would say 4 months that would be filling the position, I think it's going to alleviate a lot of the problems, and I think it would be a great asset. That's just my opinion, to have her.
Thank you.
So I found the effective date, it's the 19th, that would be Friday. So that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, now we have Tuesday.
Okay, that's your opinion, and I would like to still offer chances for other board members to weigh in on
me.
this.
What was my opinion? We received the resignation letter Friday, so when you said...
Your opinion that you voiced was about the Republican committee. This is a Gateway School Board meeting, so I'm not privy to what the Republican committee has
No,
done, and
I-
I don't
I-
want to talk about that at the
Right, so
Gateway School
I
Board
don't want to
meeting.
talk about that. What I'm talking about is the effective date of Jesse's
It's the
resignation.
17th.
It's the 19th.
So it's effective tonight. 30 days begins to run from the date you accept it.
The letter was dated the 17th. It's effective when we, what he just said, when we
Accept it.
30 days runs from today.
accept it. So we have 30 days from today to
You
fill
can
the
accept it.
seat.
You can fill the seat at any time during that 30 days.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. I've been trying to give this side of the room an opportunity to comment.
I've been trying to. Just my opinion, I think we have a candidate in the room that, as Mrs. Warning has said, has vast experience, can hit the ground running. I think with the potentially short time span that this appointment would be serving, I think it's beneficial to have somebody that has that experience. And I appreciate your desire to look at other candidates and to have other people step forward. I'm confident that we would not find somebody with the level of experience and the readiness and ready to just plug in and play that Mrs. Neely presents. And I think that because of the short time span of the appointment, any time, I don't want to say wasted, but used in furthering the search is just reducing the amount of time that we have a full board.
Well said.
With, no, you're good.
Sure.
Yep, yep.
Okay. When we were voting Jack, it was for a scenario where he was going to be filling for 2 whole years. So taking the time to look at all candidates, have a chance to meet with them, that was well warranted because it's going to be a longer appointment. With this, I'm agreeing with both Ms. Warning and Mr. McIntyre, where we have a candidate who has been on the board. You can look at their track record with voting; has been pretty solid. And with this short time frame, having somebody who can just jump in, fill the void, for the 3-4 months would be great. Because then at the very end, it's not up to us for the remainder; it's up to the people. So we are within the rules of being able to appoint somebody, and I think this would be a good decision to move forward with this.
Very good, good point.
Mr. Williams?
I agree. It's just, we need to fill the seat. Let's get it done, whether it's Miss Neely or not. Get it done tonight. Seats filled, we move on. Then the public can vote for whoever they want.
With
John.
that, if any,
I was just going to say, John, if you're worrying about the Republican committee, you will have opportunity to discuss with the Republican committee for who you want their candidate to be on the ballot. That's going to give you the opportunity to discuss that with them, so.
okay, I'd like to call the vote. Roll call, Bonnie.
Mr. Lapcevich?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
No.
Mr. Bova.
No.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion
6-2.
carries.
Congratulations, Mrs. Neely. Mrs. Isha, are you prepared to swear her in?
I am.
Cheat sheet. You want to go to the podium?
Maybe to the
Yeah,
podium. where
because
there's
then
a
the public
microphone.
can see the TV and hear you.
You missing Scotty?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't have to read anything, do I? No.
That feeling's gonna get
Bear with me.
incrementally louder in here. What's going on?
Please raise your right hand and repeat this oath after me, stating your name. I, Dawn Neal, having been elected to the office of school director,
I've been elected to the office of school director
for the school district of Gateway,
of the school district of Gateway,
county of Allegheny, and Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
county of Allegheny, and Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
I solemnly swear that I will support, obey, defend
I solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Thank you.
We have a,
Attorney Dice has a comment.
we have a corresponding resolution that's been executed now by Mary Beth that should stay with the minutes, Bonnie. So make sure that you sign off on it and keep it with the minutes.
And I just happen to have this in my archives, so brought it with me.
Nice.
She was hoping I'd come back.
Yes.
So,
Congratulations. Welcome aboard.
behalf of the administration, school board, welcome back. I've had the pleasure of knowing Mrs. Neely and the family for many years. Students went through and
Good. Sorry, I'm
Sorry,
not reaching
you're
in
good.
front of you. Totally interrupted.
have valued your work over the years and look forward to the next 4 months and moving forward. And a lot has changed over the last several years, but it's familiar faces are still there. But we will make sure that we get you caught up on everything, the emails, board docs, moving forward, and brief orientation for you. So, welcome. Also, I'd like to acknowledge the work of Dr. Jesse Kalkstein. He's done a fantastic job. I've had the honor and privilege of knowing Jesse since his days as a student at Gateway High School. And he has brought a lot to this table, and just, over the course of the last couple of years, tremendous asset to the communities of Monroeville and Picayune. And wish him the best of luck moving forward with his job and everything he's dealing with.
We do. And like I said, he will be joining us hopefully in August so we can celebrate his service
Yes.
and he can thank everybody in person. So it's time to move on.